Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Apocalypse Movies and the Fandalorian Club here on the channel. We are back. It is episode 2 of Fando, but episode 3 of Obi-Wan Kenobi. And I put up a 1 and a 2 when I said 2 and 3. That doesn't matter. We are still here, excited to talk some Star Wars. It is the crew. We are back. My name is Jake Berlin. I'm your host here on Fandalorian Club, and I'm joined today by Mr. Brian Avlicino and one Gio Ramos, who finally has a poster in the background. And it happens
little something.
Gio, I'll go to you first today, man. How you doing?
I'm pretty good, guys. I'm excited about basketball, not Star Wars related, but I have to be honest with you. That's kind of the only thing on my mind right now. So yeah, and obviously I'm excited to talk about this episode of Obi-Wan. Back, good to be back with you too. So yeah,
go C's. And to the Lone Warriors fan here on the channel, Mr. Brian, how you doing?
I'm good. Back in the Bay Area, which is perfect because Rue is here. I see you.
I'm not highlighting any of Rue's comments because of it.
Perfect. I know you're here, and that's all that matters. So, yeah, I'm trying to not fade into the darkness because my mom's house has horrible lighting. So, yeah, just glad I was able to make it in time. Traffic was a nightmare down here.
Well, I mean, you went to the Bay Area, so, I mean.
Yeah, but in the afternoon, it should be fine. Because he's a freaking Kings fan, Rue, which is even more.
Right, you're wearing a Boston hat. You're saying go Dubs.
I'm a Red Sox fan. They're my baseball team, but I've always been Warriors. The arena's, well, the Oracle used to be like 20 minutes away. So, yeah. My grandma grew up less than my grandma's house is a mile away from Oracle.
I'm sorry, Gio. You have no room to talk being a Celtics fan, being a Yankees fan, and being a Niners fan. You have no
Lakers.
Fan. No, Jacob's a
That's
Lakers
Jacob.
fan.
Sorry.
You have no room to talk, Gio.
Hey,
none.
Diversity.
And Jacob also has no room to talk being a Lakers fan. Like
diversity of fandoms, okay?
Jacob is what? Lakers, 49ers, Giants.
Okay.
Yeah,
at least he stayed in the same.
He's the absolute worst. And he is here. Hello, Mr. Jacob Bartley.
What's up, guys?
Hey, buddy.
Guys.
I love Andy's. Which Star Wars was this stuff in again?
Anyway, away from sports, because everyone here probably doesn't really care much about sports except for Rue. I'm sure a couple people do, but now look, we're here to talk Obi-Wan Kenobi, and we talked about it last week how this show has the possibility of being something very, very cool and special with the pieces that it has to the puzzle. Right, puzzle hasn't gotten put together yet, but it has Ewan McGregor, it has Hayden Christensen, it has Deborah Chow, among many, many other names. And it hasn't reached full potential yet, but we now see what full potential possibly looks like after episode 3, part 3, I'll say rather. In my opinion, the show has hit and it's been 3 episodes. I get it, but it is technically the halfway point. The show is at an all-time high right now. It is showing what 10 years after episode 3 looks like. The darkness that Obi-Wan has gone through. You bring in Vader. We're going to break it all down. No specifics just yet, but I want to get quick, instant reactions from these guys before we kind of talk about some details here. Brian, I'll go back to you. What was your initial thought as soon as you finished part 3 of Obi-Wan Kenobi?
Just how much I love this show. I just don't understand how anyone has any problems with it. Like it's
all
like
subjective.
People are just so.
It's not subjective, Gio. Everyone needs to like it or they suck.
Everyone just like.
Oh, we're gonna have a conversation.
Literally,
Jesus.
People are just trying to find things to poop on. Like, I just don't get it. I'm having so much fun watching it. Like, I feel like I'm back in the prequel era of like just a little kid watching these new Star Wars movies with these characters that I literally grew up with. So I'm loving it. I have no complaints right now. I'm just enjoying the ride.
Yep. just kind of piggybacking off that before I get to Gio, because I feel like Gio might pull the negative card on us. I mean, let's be honest, Gio, it's kind of your MO sometimes. It took me back to, you're right, Brian. Like it as much as I love like Rogue One and Solo and The Force Awakens and parts of the other two films, it took me back to how I experienced Star Wars with the prequels. Like that's what it felt like. And I can't wait to talk about it all in specifics and kind of dive into a little bit more.
We're literally back in the era of our childhood.
Yeah, like that, and that's what I'm talking about. Like we've said it before, but we're prequel babies, so I think it just hits different, I guess. It might be the best way of saying it, but Gio, what kind of negative thoughts you got for us today?
Stop. No, I mean, you kind of touched on it, right? We're prequel babies. So looking at this show, I mean, maybe it helps explain why I'm a little bit more protective of it, and
very fair. I mean,
maybe a little bit more critical of when I watch the episodes, because it's like, we've been wanting to see Ewan back for 10 years, over 10 years now. Same with Hayden, just being back in that era, filling in some of the story in between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope. I mean, we've gotten the Rebels and the Clone Wars and all that kind of stuff, and Bad Batch too, but like this is what we've been waiting for. Instant reaction. It was better the second time I watched it. The first time I saw it, I was a little bit, and I can't believe I felt this way too, but I felt a little bit underwhelmed by what I was watching. That's not to say there wasn't amazing things that we're going to get into and talk about, but I guess in order for me to elaborate on that, we just got to go through the episode. So
my question for you though is, did you set your expectations way too high?
That's what I was going to say.
Unobtainable expectations.
I guess
How can you be underwhelmed at Vader snapping necks?
Yes and no, because Lucasfilm kind of said it, right? This is the rematch of the century. This is Darth Vader and Obi-Wan.
But we haven't even gotten to the rematch yet.
But still, when they're on screen together and there's all these cutaways like Godzilla, the first movie, where it's just like, okay, I'm going to run now. And then again, I get the context and whatnot, but the lightsaber battle wasn't anything impressive. I get where Obi-Wan is at in his current state, just like scared like he's a Padawan again and whatnot, but it's just I don't know, like when you feed me all this stuff, Lucasfilm, and you tell me all these things about Obi-Wan, I'm gonna expect it. And who's to say it doesn't happen in the later episodes? But I'm just talking about this episode.
I definitely respect Gio's thoughts and everything. The way that I think about it is that was literally the first time he ignited his lightsaber in 10 years.
Sure.
In 10 years. Of course he's going to run. Like, okay, let's just get into it because we're already here. Let's just talk about it. I mean, we're here, so might as well talk about it. We're talking. Okay, we're just going to get into the Vader Obi-Wan stuff because we're here. It's happening.
Can I ask one thing before? Has everyone watched it multiple times?
I've watched it 3.5 times.
See, I've seen it twice, and like I said, the second time I liked it more. So
I think I don't know about you guys, but this is the first show that I'm like itching to watch it immediately twice. Out of all the Disney Plus shows, like immediately
I agree.
Watching twice.
Yeah, I agree. Because it goes back to what we talked about when we talked about it on Monday. It has a very different type of cinematic feel to it compared to some of the other shows. And not every single show, but some of the other shows don't have that like oomph, that punch that you want it to feel like a movie. And it feels like this does feel like a movie. And of course, broken up into episodes and this ending out of the three of them was by far like the whole, oh, this is a TV show. We're leaving you on a cliffhanger till next episode, right? Like, because it just kind of like happened. Anyway,
Jacob, I'm so glad you're in the chat because, like, I know that if you were here, you would be going in on G.
100%.
So
100%
protective of Obi-Wan.
I gotta be honest.
Come on, Jacob. Put it in the chat, my guy. Put it in the chat. Come on. Anyway, This is actually, I want to bring this up. This is actually something that I was going to bring up. This is from Andy. He's broken and ignited out of fear, and even wasn't aware enough to not let the light affect his vision. That's a great point, because he had been shut off from the Force for 10 years. He didn't have his lightsaber around him for 10 years. And as much as he still has the Force in him, it's going to take time to, for the lack of a better term, reignite itself, right? That's why, like, you see that POV shot behind the lightsaber as he's looking around. He can't find Vader because he's not fully adapted back into the Force yet. I love the like, almost the flip. Like, I'm not saying that Obi-Wan completely took over Anakin and was beating the hell out of him in episode 3, but in a lot of,
he literally was using one hand.
that's what I'm saying. Vader
Yeah.
wasn't even trying. He legit wasn't even trying.
He was
he wanted to torture him. He 100% wanted to torture him the entire time. And that, like, he was using one hand, and then the dragging of him through the fire, which was brutal.
Yeah.
Like, for them to go there, and it's your time to suffer, essentially, is what he said. Dragging him through the flames, like, wow. Like, we went there. We didn't even talk about the scene where he's walking through the town and he's breaking bodies and killing people, which
he is still in Order 66 mode. The way he murders that boy just effortlessly, and just that's it. And I'm like, oh,
literally just snaps the kid's neck and keeps going.
Yeah,
I think, and we've seen Vader in some incredible moments before, like, brutality wise. Obviously, Rogue One comes to mind as the most prominent. This might be my favorite version of Vader yet.
This is what I'm talking about
over
too.
Rogue One.
Rogue One, because I think he's angrier here than he is in Rogue One.
Okay, see, now this brings me back to when I said to you, wouldn't you want to see a story of Vader, like how pissed off he is right now? And you were like, I'm kind of over Vader.
Like, I didn't. That's not what I said.
Not over it, but we've gotten in a lot of
said.
stories of Vader. And
you are
things.
Totally taking my word.
Then what did you say?
So what I said was, I love that Vader's included in this. I don't need Vader in everything. He's had 3 comic book runs on top of being in other comic books. He's been in multiple books, right? He was in Rogue One. He's in Rebels. Anakin's obviously in Clone Wars. Now he's in Obi-Wan. I don't know if I need a Vader-centric show. Like, I like seeing this where he's almost a co-lead. I don't need him in everything. I don't. That's what I'm
everything.
saying.
But if you're saying, hey, we're gonna do a Vader show where he's just absolutely wrecking people, even if it was just like finding Jedi, essentially kind of like what he's doing right now, you wouldn't be down for that? Because I would like. Would I watch it? Yes. Would I rather see different stories in the Star Wars galaxy? 1,000%. I want to see.
I mean, Jake,
Vader.
Can you fault the creators of, like, okay, if it's set during a time when Vader is there and alive, like, can you fault them for not using, Vader?
If Deborah Chow is given the opportunity and Lucasfilm literally goes to her and says, we want you to do Obi-Wan, but we don't know what we're doing, the first thing that goes in her mind is, oh, fucking duh, I'm doing Obi-Wan versus Vader. Obviously. Sure. Yeah. Like, yes, of course.
But if it's Book of Boba Fett, then it's like, I mean, not that doesn't make any sense.
Or like Andor. Okay, Andor, perfect example. I don't need Vader in that.
Oh no, he doesn't need to be in that. I'm talking about a Vader show.
I know, but I don't know if I need that. I think seeing Vader right now, we're gonna get essentially four full episodes of Vader in his absolute craziest stage of life, right? Sure. He's pissed off, he's angry. He literally told the fourth sister to her face, if you fail, I'm murdering your ass. Like, he literally said that.
Fourth or third sister?
Third sister. Sorry, third sister. Okay. My bad. So like, I'm just saying, because I read the comic books and the books and stuff, I am covered with Vader all the time, right? That's why I'm coming from this perspective, because there's so many other stories out there that I'd rather see. But anyway, we're talking about Obi-Wan, and the more Vader and Obi-Wan, I'm 1,000% for. Just clarifying.
No, I think what what Deborah and company did with putting emphasis on his breathing and the environment that he was in definitely was a lot more impactful than I thought it would have been. I mean,
It's also the way it's shot.
Him
Sure.
getting built was awesome.
So yeah, that scene, because it's the first time we've like the scene in episode 3 was cool and all, but this is like legit seeing like pieces go in his body and the full back to tank status and everything. And it's super cool after, because it happens right after the opening of Obi trying to reach out to Qui-Gon, and then we get all the flashback moments from like the prequels of Qui-Gon speaking, Anakin. We hear Reva at one point. Like it's a very cool thing. As soon as Obi-Wan says Anakin, it cuts to him being built as Vader, which is really, really, really cool. But Gio, I agree with you. The breathing aspect, because it's such an iconic thing with the character and it goes with him hand in hand. It was very important to get that down as good as they did, but also the way that they're shooting him is remarkable. The camera work, it's like I'm that scene of him walking down the town, the way the camera is working is unreal.
Camera pans up.
It's just Deborah Chow is such a fantastic director. She is so good at what she does. She brings this very, for lack of a better term, I guess, she brings a very indie original style direction to her projects. It doesn't feel super high budget blockbustery, but the cinematography is done so well to where it feels cinematic. And it's not shot with like the most expensive cameras on the planet or anything like that, but she's using her ability and the people around her to shoot something that she may be using a single camera just sitting there in front of Vader, but because of the way she's shooting it and the way that they do the post, it feels like some of the most cinematic stuff we've ever seen. At least for Star Wars television is what I mean. So yeah, it's and that's a big part of the show is you have to make sure you get Vader right. Like if you don't get Vader right, it doesn't work. And that goes to do with the way the character walks, talks, moves, the shooting of the character, all of it. And that also brings me another point. The voice sounded incredible.
James Earl Jones.
He didn't sound as the older version like he did in Rogue One. Because remember we talked about how he kind of felt aged because he obviously felt older, right? It sounds like they did a little work to his voice and he sounds much younger, which is fantastic. It worked out perfectly.
Yeah, I agreed. It's great to hear James Earl Jones back again. Use him while he's still here, please. And
I need him to record every word in the English dictionary just in case. Literally, have him just read the dictionary just so we have every word.
Well,
they should just make his voice an AI voice. There you go.
We live in a world now where you can pull that off. I mean, we talked about it on Apocalypse Now on Tuesday, how Val Kilmer and Top Gun Maverick, Jake, when you brought up that, they did a lot of post, what's the term, ADR or something? Like,
well, they called it artificial intelligence. They created 40 different versions of artificial intelligence for Iceman and Maverick. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. So, but it's still great to hear him back. And it's great to see Hayden Christensen. I mean,
that scene where he shows up in his Jedi robes.
You want to know what's funny?
Moment, yeah.
It's funny. The first time I watched it, didn't know who that was.
So Gabby thought it was Palpatine.
Okay, see, I knew it wasn't going to be Palpatine because he never.
And again, that's coming from Gabby's perspective. Like I give her credit to even guessing.
If Palpatine returned again, well, he didn't die. Never mind.
He's technically alive.
Yeah. I didn't see him the first time. I didn't want to stop and rewind. I just wanted one quick flow.
It was the way he was standing and turned. I immediately.
He was pretty clever too. It was. I know, but it was pretty.
It reminded me of the way he was in episode 3 when he goes to the dark side and the yellow eyes and the way he turns. I was oh my God, that's Hayden in his Jedi robes. I was like,
yeah.
That was wild.
Bonkers. It was bonkers.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a good point, Andy. Bryce Dallas Howard, Deborah Chow.
I mean, he's not wrong.
No.
He's absolutely not wrong. For our listeners, audio wise, Andy says fully reinforcing the fact that the best episodes of Star Wars TV have been directed by women.
100%. Like, there's no debating it.
I wanted to go back real quick to Obi-Wan Vader and see if we had any final thoughts before we kind of move on to some other stuff.
Yeah.
I will just say that the episode was an incredible reminder to everyone that Vader is without a doubt the greatest villain of all time.
Mm-hmm.
All time. Just my opinion.
Yeah. I'm just thinking about No Country for
I
Old
was like,
Men,
Gio.
I was just thinking about No Country for Old Men. He's up there too. Anton Chigurh. But Vader. I mean,
Vader's name, you could say in any generation and like they know who it is.
Sure.
That's pretty rare.
Like, we're talking about almost in a couple of years, in about 5 years, it'll be 50 years of Star Wars.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So,
a couple things regarding Vader and Obi-Wan. What have you become? I am what you made me.
Andy just brought it up, and he said that it sounded very similar to a past dialogue, which maybe they mixed some old stuff with new stuff. That might be the best line of the show so far.
Very powerful in context, but Anakin, no, you made yourself that way. When Obi-Wan says in Revenge of the Sith, you have done that yourself.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, and stop. But that's also a reminder of like how twisted, and I think Andy might have, or someone said it. Was it Andy? It's really giving us why Obi-Wan considers him twisted and evil. It reminds us as to why Anakin is so twisted, right? Like he turned to the dark side on his own. He made the decision to do all the stuff he did. He was manipulated by Palpatine, of course, but he ultimately decided to do this. But he is also in a large part twisted by beliefs, and he still believes that everything that has happened is Obi-Wan's fault and the Jedi. So it's the great reminder of how good of a villain process it was for him, the twist from good to evil and the reasoning, why the way he is, and how he acts. That's what I meant to say. Sorry. My brain thought too fast. But yeah, he very much is a twisted person, and he's just been sitting in that thought process for 10 years. I mean, it's made him worse and worse. And that line, man, when he said that, I was like, oh, just my heart.
Yeah, I mean, he clearly still thinks he's this way because of other people, not himself. Like, never once has he like taken accountability of his own actions. It's always been to this point, someone else did this and this is why. When Ahsoka left him, it was someone else's fault. The Jedi Order failed her, in turn failed me. Obi-Wan turned Padme against me. Nope, you were just a jackass. Like he's never taken accountability for his own actions, and still to this day, like it's clear that he's still that self-centered boy, even in this ginormous mask and suit. Like he still like acts like the little boy from Phantom Menace. Throwing temper tantrums and stuff.
Oh, especially in Attack of the Clones. He literally says it out loud. Like, it's all Obi-Wan's fault. He's jealous and blah, blah, blah. And, I mean, you saw it early on. Okay. I guess that's why in the first viewing I had, I felt a little underwhelmed because maybe I was too focused on the lightsaber battle and all that. But a second time, it really stood out to me just how Vader was giving Obi-Wan a taste of what he did to him on Mustafar, dragging him through the fire and just.
I was shocked.
Was that glass or something? What was he dragging him across?
Explosive.
I almost felt like it might have like a Star Wars version of coal that lights on fire pretty quickly. Because that moment where he's there and he just touches his lightsaber on the ground and lights up was one of the coolest things I've ever seen in my life.
Just said
that was so badass. What a move.
He's ruthless. Absolutely ruthless.
Now, As cool as that was,
Uh-oh, here we go.
does the Force not work through fire or something? Like, could he have, hey, where are you going? Get back here.
I honestly think that there was a sense of like fear from him from the
From
fire.
Vader?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, remember the moose. I mean, I know that he basically sits in fire with his castle on Mustafar, but the dude is the way he is because he burned alive, essentially. So Brian might be right. Like maybe he is a little fearful of fire. Even though he did ignite it himself, he did it for the sole purpose of dragging Obi-Wan through it.
Sure.
But I mean, dude, it is a good question.
I'm just saying,
I think
he came up with a better way. It doesn't take away from the moment we just saw.
Maybe it was like a thing where he saw the stormtrooper get shot down, and then the fire erupts because of a shot. Maybe he believed that there were others out there that he couldn't see or do, and he didn't want to get into a full blaster fight because he was solely focused on Obi-Wan.
I think he just wants to chase him down and just like
me too.
Him be fearful.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think it's literally just the wanting to play cat and mouse. Like he's enjoying. He clearly doesn't want to just kill him and be done with it. He literally just wants to just torture and run this fear as long as possible. But I ultimately, Gio, I thought the same thing immediately. But I think my immediate thought was like he's not screwing with the fire.
I mean, they didn't go very far. She just dragged him over the hill and get the transport and whatnot. I guess I'm nitpicking here. So
no, I mean that's why we do the show is to answer and debate stuff like this, things that happen within the episode. You are right. I mean, why didn't he just do it through the fire? But maybe there was some kind of mental block that was happening. Yeah. Very, very possible. God, I was just gonna bring something up and I totally forgot. Anybody else have anything while I try to think?
Yeah. I am 100% convinced at this point that Reva is a Padawan that got out, that is solely seeking revenge on Vader, and that she more or less hates Obi-Wan because it's his fault no one came and got her. I'm 100% convinced at this point because she did multiple things that caught my attention. When he snaps the kid's neck, she does this, like turns, like grimaces, like holy crap. And then when she's in the little hideout, she's looks more upset that she wasn't like a person that got brought into that and was hidden and stuff. Like I'm so convinced that she's just bitter that she was not saved, and I think she's gonna fail, but try to go after Vader in some point.
She's gonna be force choked so bad.
Yeah, I think he's just gonna stab her straight through and just.
I think he's gonna full on force choke that girl. It's gonna be terrible to watch.
Yeah, but I'm 100% convinced at this point that she's an old Padawan that probably was a part of Project Harvester, taken as a kid and just used.
Yes, Jeff, that's what Brian's saying, essentially.
She's using.
We talked about it last week. We talked about it on Monday, essentially, that she's using Obi-Wan as bait for Vader to bring him in, get him distracted, and then cut him down.
She knows he's Anakin. Anakin is obviously Darth Vader wants Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan is the easiest connection to get to him because it does not seem that they get to be around Vader unless it's like this type of situation.
Well, not even talk to him. When Reva had said that she talked to him directly, they were like, "Wait, you talked to Vader?"
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's 100% motive for her to get to Vader, and she even kind of like takes off after him for a second, and then that's when Fifth Brother's like, he told you to not do anything.
Yeah.
Like she looked like she was gonna go after Vader at that moment, and she was told like
Which
stand down.
would be a dumb move because fifth brother and
Fourth sister.
fourth sister. Which
Yeah.
I got questions for you guys about that afterwards. Help explain why he's fifth and she's fourth and he's third.
The math
There's
does
no
not-
real
yeah,
explanation.
There's none.
But we just know that there's not double digits. They just go up to 9, right, Brian? If I'm not mistaken.
There hasn't been anything higher than 9.
It's just the 9. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Since we're talking about, I guess that moment and what the safe house, so which they call the path.
Which
they
Quinlan Voss?
Yeah,
Love it.
Who's Quinlan?
Quinlan is the one that has
explain
the
for the people who decided to click on our channel.
So
and
it's
check
because
us out
you haven't watched Clone Wars all the way through, but he appeared in The Phantom Menace.
He was in the background.
An incredibly badass character who has had some incredible stories. It's this dude. Have you ever seen him, Gio? This is the Clone Wars version.
No, I haven't.
You've never seen him really like up close as a live action. He's in the background of Phantom Menace, but not like.
I see. I googled Quinlan Phantom Menace, and I see Jar Jar, and he's right behind him. So
yeah,
and this is a big deal too because O'Shea Jackson Jr. is Quinlan Voss.
Well, you can't say he is. It's people are heavily.
If they name drop him, he's 100% showing up.
Is that who O'Shea Jackson Jr. is playing?
That's what people are theorizing.
That's what everyone thinks he is.
Yeah. Dude, Quinlan Voss coming into a story where he's actually involved in live action. I'm so pumped.
So I'm excited for him because he was in Dark Disciples, which is my favorite Star Wars book because it deals with Asajj Ventress. Obviously she is not going to be around for this, which is a bummer. Can you imagine if like she was and like all of a sudden you just hear her voice in the background? Oh, yeah, Gio. He teeters that line.
He's not as clean cut as Obi-Wan. Put it that way.
So he's like a gray Jedi.
No, it's a little different. I would consider Qui-Gon a gray Jedi. Quinlan Voss can
he has been influenced by the dark side before.
Well, okay, Brian.
Isn't that a great
Gio's
Jedi?
never going to read this book. He's never going to read this book. Put it this way.
I know, but I don't want to spoil it for people in the chat.
Spoilers.
It's my favorite book.
Spoilers for Dark Disciple for the next 10 seconds. Okay, Quinlan Voss in that book goes on a mission where he goes undercover as a Sith apprentice, and he basically gets tempted, and very much teeters that line for a very long period of time.
Is that an audiobook?
Asajj Ventress.
It is an audiobook, yeah.
Yes.
You know what, Brian? You said I never said you're never gonna read the next Fando. I'm gonna I got you.
It's actually not a long book because originally it was supposed to be part of Clone Wars season 7 as a 4-episode arc, but the season originally got canceled on Cartoon Network, so they turned it into a book, and then Clone Wars ended up coming back. So it was that we were supposed to see it in animated form. But yeah, Gio, he'll probably end up being your favorite Jedi, to be honest. Like, he is super, super cool.
Over Mace Windu?
Yes.
He's kind of like, I don't want to say similar to Mace Windu, but where it's like that teeters that line sometimes.
You know who he's like? The movie version of Black Adam, which is what they're turning him into.
Okay. See, that makes, when you say it like that, that makes a lot more sense. Because he's not a gray Jedi, but I thought gray Jedis were that. But
I mean, we've never technically had a real. This is a gray Jedi, but yeah,
I don't know if they'll ever do official gray Jedis.
I don't think
they'll
will.
ever. I think honestly, I think the closest thing to a gray Jedi right now is Qui-Gon.
Probably
in canon. He's because he he was
Qui-Gon
supposed
and
to
kind of Dooku.
but Dooku eventually went bad. Qui-Gon very much teetered because he didn't agree with the Jedi Council. He was in it, or that he was in the Order,
Dooku.
but he never agreed with the Council. But he never went bad, and he was willing to do things that were against the Order's way. And I know Qui-Gon or Dooku was as well. Anyway, back to Obi-Wan, everyone.
I have two more things regarding that moment.
Go ahead.
To Brian's point, I think you're onto something because the way Reva looks at that symbol on the wall, which
the Jedi symbol,
the Jedi symbol, her emotions weren't like angry. It was like a little bit of like
almost sadness.
I think she misses it. She very much misses her life as a youngling and what it was kind of headed towards.
It's what it could have been.
Because she was taken away from her family, right, to be a youngling, and then all that was just ripped away. And now she's been on this weird path for the last 10 years that's led her to being an inquisitor, working for Vader under the dark side, having to do pretty bad things. But to Brian's point about the whole cutting down Vader thing and her having regrets of like when he snapped the kid's neck and looking at that shelter, go back to episode 2 where she didn't cut down Kumail Nanjiani. There's reasons why she's not doing things. It seems like even though that she's part of it,
or have yellow eyes,
or do that, or do bad things that other Inquisitors would. Although she did cut off,
she's ruthless.
Someone's hands. She did cut off someone's hands, but there's things that she doesn't do that may lead to her having some kind of heart at the end.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen examples of that. And most recently, Andor from Rogue One. He kills somebody, but he's still like very much on his own mission for good. And it's not yet been revealed, Reva's full intentions besides what she makes so obvious. I mean, there's hints that there's more to it, which is why I'm, withholding final judgment on the character until all 6 episodes. And I think everyone should feel that way, regardless of how you feel, because it could easily swing one way or another if it doesn't go into preconceived notions or whatever. So we're crossing our fingers. I'm crossing my fingers that some reveal happens the second to last episode. One other thing that I wanted to mention was what Quinlan wrote on the wall. Only when the eyes are closed can you truly see the way. That brought me to reminded me of Force Awakens with Rey, and how when she's holding the lightsaber, she closes her eyes and she finally sees the way. And just, I don't know if that's what he was talking about or with the Force or something. Did you guys read anything into that?
Quinlan is always
the quote.
And Andy, you can correct me if I'm wrong, because I know that's what you do with this. And he already corrected me saying there's supposed to be 2 4-episode arcs, which I did not know. So thank you for that. I might be wrong on this, but I can swear that Quinlan said that in the Clone Wars series, because he is, and I could be completely off, but Quinlan is a very spiritual, deep emotion type of Jedi.
He is very much like a Native American.
Yeah, he deals with very different type of stuff. And this is also a good thing to add, is this is one of his powers, Gio. He can read the memories of stuff just by touching them.
Mm-hmm.
So he deals with the very spiritual, like meditation, hardcore, emotional side of the Jedi, whereas Obi-Wan doesn't really do that much. He's a very straight and narrow type of Jedi from the Jedi Order. Quinlan is on the very, very end of the spectrum, and it's just a different type of Force using for good.
So now I'm going to read the book. So that, as far as Quinlan goes, it's Dark Disciple to read, right? That's the clear cut number
That's
1.
the only book that he's in, and then he's in
he's in
the Clone Wars a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, he's in the Clone Wars a lot. There's actually a really cool arc with him and Obi-Wan together in the Clone Wars. So you could probably just Google that episode or episodes and watch those, Gio, if you really wanted to.
See, that's why I love
my favorite.
You too, because
he's my favorite.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
It's my favorite book. I love
I really enjoy it too. I think it's fantastic. It's really, really good. But Brian, I don't know if you agree with me. I think he should probably watch a few Clone Wars stuff to get to know them a little bit more before reading the book.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely want to be well versed in Asajj Ventress, like just knowing how she is, and then what she becomes at the end of Clone Wars.
Okay, Gio, here's good examples of to who Quinlan is. He's a hippie Jedi, and the Clone Wars writers referred to him as the dude from the Lebowski as a Jedi. Put it that way.
He's very much like a spiritual, like the land is like that type. For me, whenever I read anything about him, I pictured like a very spiritual, like Native American person. Like
100%. I agree.
That's how I pictured him, like very in touch with the land and the spirits and all that type of stuff. That's how I picture him. Someone else could be doing it. Someone could picture it completely different. That's how I always kind of just pictured him. Very much like
Quinlan is Bay.
Reef done.
So that's how I always pictured him.
I will say though, like
and he has the yellow lightsaber.
Well, it's green. I thought it was green.
Isn't it? Doesn't he have yellow one?
I think it's green.
Oh wait, no. Well, he takes a certain one at the end.
But his normal lightsaber is green. Out of all the Jedi they could have done, I'm so happy they chose Quinlan.
It's so
smart
happy
move. That they could
it's
have
a really
because
cool one.
Out of all the Jedi, he's really the one that's been the most untouched, and he is so freaking popular in Star Wars fandom. Like I've seen many people come out on Twitter since the episode saying Quinlan's always been my favorite Jedi. We just haven't gotten enough of him, and now it seems like there's a possibility we get more of him.
I agree with Jake.
Really cool.
Gio, I think you would absolutely love him. Like he would be one that you would stick to very heavily.
Clone Wars is a tough watch because there's so much stuff, but honestly, Gio, I think if you found the episodes that you could watch Asajj and Quinlan and then read Dark Disciple, I think you would have a whole different perspective on Star Wars with those couple characters.
Well, let's start with Dark Disciple. And random question.
Actually, I might agree with Jake. You might want to start a little bit.
You should watch some Clone Wars stuff before reading it,
because the book is pretty much.
It takes place after Clone Wars. It takes place after Clone Wars.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll go through it and give you like a best of or something.
Yeah.
Cool. Another thing.
But you had a question. Hold on, Brian. You had a question, Gio?
Well, no, I was just gonna say, random question. Have they ever brought in, or have we seen Master Sifo-Dyas?
Yeah, he was like a ghost.
He was a Force ghost at one point, but that was it.
Oh, okay, that's all.
Yeah. It didn't really do anything, but
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Sticking to that room, I'm not taking credit for it. Jake already knows because I put it in our group chat. But apparently there was written on the wall for life and light, which is the High Republic motto. Yep. And then the writers were like, oh, like, how did that get in there?
Yeah.
Which is crazy to think about because it was so effing long ago.
Yeah.
Like it's been
250 years before.
At least 250, right? And to think that that's on the wall on that planet and they're filtering in High Republic Easter eggs, that's huge because that's the first Easter egg.
I was apprehensive. I looked to see like the Orbesh to see if it matched, and the 4 matched. But I mean, the second that the writers were like, "Did you guys see that?" Then I was like, "Okay, so that's exactly what it said."
Yeah,
so it's pretty cool that.
Well, it was always a win, not an if. But the fact that and what a cool way to do it, like in this shelter that Jedi have been helping essentially smuggle people out, right, and helping people, and that's where you can throw in someone like Quinlan where they leave their mark, or someone from the High Republic, or who has history with the High Republic era.
It's even just like
from there.
It's just cool because it's just like it's nothing like crazy, but it's like it ties into like what's going on with them, like looking for like positivity and stuff like that. And that was like their saying of positivity at the time, like to try to get you through the dark times and stuff, was the for life and light. And that room was the exact same thing, like had the Jedi symbol, Quinlan Voss's little saying, the For Light in Life, just all these like little positive things to try to like pique at these people that were struggling, and so it works. It's not just like a let's throw a High Republic thing there, and just like
And not to mention for the audience, the line that Tala says about, she'll make a great soldier someday, and we know what Leia turns into. And can you train me how to shoot a gun? And then we see her in A New Hope, just
take out that
stormtroopers. And,
yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's the Easter eggs and like the subtle nods to things that happen in Star Wars have been done very, very nicely. And a great example is that High Republic.
You said the key word. They're subtle. They're
yeah, well, the High Republic one, it wasn't mentioned. It was for fans to decipher on the back. Like it wasn't something that was pointed out. It was just there. Yeah. Right. And that's when an Easter egg is done very, very well. Oh, here you go, Gio. Go back and read this. Here's the Andy found it. There you go.
There. I screenshotted it for you, Gio.
I'll put that up. Watch those before you read Dark Disciple.
Andy, you are.
I'm telling you, Andy's our fact
scholar
checker.
And a gentleman.
He is 100% our fact checker, and I love it.
Andy, you are everything what's right with the Star Wars fandom, and that's so important to be right now.
So I want to get to because Reefton brought it up. What this episode could mean for like Qui-Gon showing up and flashbacks and stuff like that. But I've had a question starred from Jeff Nichols for a while that I want to bring up. And he asked, do you think the Emperor will appear as a hologram communication possibly?
There's no need.
I mean, I would say yeah, in the sense if Obi-Wan and Vader are going to have one more confrontation, or at least right now in their minds, one more confrontation, I would think, he might look to Palps for some type of guidance, like I've finally found him. I've found the Jedi who embarrassed me and made me who I am, or something. I wouldn't mind a little 30-second, 60-second, cameo via hologram. Might as well. I mean, Ian McDiarmid is very much in the Star Wars circles now. So
I mean we saw him at Disneyland. So
yeah, he walked right by us.
Yeah,
he walked
right. He literally. Gio, I'm not kidding you. He walked like this far.
I literally said, "My lord," when he walked by.
Yeah, I would have said, "Do it."
So I will not put out the possibility of him showing up. It obviously is a period where it kind of makes sense. But coming from one who has history with the comic books and the books, Palpatine wasn't a huge fan of the Inquisitors in the Inquisitor program. And Vader was very much doing a lot of stuff behind Palp's back. They were not on the same page for a lot of stuff that was happening. Even at one point, I think I mentioned on a Monday when we reviewed the first two, there was even a point in time where Palpatine was essentially going to disown him as his apprentice because they were on such different sides of things. So for that reason, I think it's going to stick strictly to Vader and the Inquisitors. And I think it should stay that way. I don't think that we should see Palpatine. I think that this is a very personal fight. And I don't think there's going to be a moment where Vader reaches out to Palpatine for help. He's going to do it, and he's going to do it by himself. And if the Inquisitors can't help, they're either going to die trying to help him, or Vader's going to cut them down in his way. But I think it's because it's so personal. I think it's going to be Vader and Obi-Wan, and that is it. That's just my opinion.
I will say, had we not gotten the big joke of Palpatine has somehow returned from Rise, there would be more of a chance. But I think they probably don't want to deal with that.
We want to shelve it. Yeah. That's a good point.
I think had they not had like I feel like at this point we would be like, oh, he returned again. Like it's almost like it's gonna become a joke. Like if you constantly have him.
I could see a scenario where if it plays out the way you think, Brian, Reva ends up taking on the fifth brother and third sister, and then finds a way to defeat them. Having not seen Clone Wars, I don't know if they show up or Rebels or whatnot, or if they make it out. But I could see where Reva turns, and because there's a lot of tension between fifth brother and third sister. Or
Yep.
yeah,
Jake, I'm
Well,
not
they
ruling.
both want the seat. That's why.
oh yeah, they're gonna be
Yeah.
fighting and whatnot.
Jake,
yeah.
I'm not ruling out that Sarah Michelle Gellar comes in at the very end.
Neither
and
do I.
plays the
I don't
other
think so
sister.
either. I think there's a very high chance we see her at the end, or there's a high chance we see her as a replacement after some of them die, because Rebels takes place roughly like 5 years after this.
No more than
ish.
5.
Yeah, so like there's a possibility that she's maybe not even an Inquisitor right now. But if she shows up, bro, I'm going to lose it.
So she's an Inquisitor.
She is an Inquisitor from Rebels. She's the main female Inquisitor from Rebels. Yeah.
So in Rebels,
Brian, it's the second sister, right?
No, she's.
I was gonna say
the seventh
who is
sister.
she?
Seventh sister. Sorry, second, seventh.
sister.
Seventh sister.
I believe.
Yeah.
I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure.
Which, if she's the seventh sister, that would mean that they're essentially just. That would mean they're essentially just going down the line, naming them, which means she came in later.
Well, we know. Yeah, that's true.
So now they're at third and fourth, fifth brother, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth. That's what I'm saying. Like maybe they're just naming them as they come along.
Well, I think there's. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if there's second sister, second brother, third sister, third brother, like just
I would say
that.
so.
But I mean, I know second was Trilla. Third is Reva. Fourth is the chick that we've seen so far. Seventh is Sarah Michelle Gellar's character in Rebels. Then you have sixth brother, which is the one that Ahsoka stole the lightsabers from, which I
cannot wait to see.
Yeah.
Oh.
Ninth sister was the one that was in the video game.
We're blowing Gio's mind right now. He's like, what is happening?
Yeah.
Any cousins? No.
No cousins.
Sister, brother, no distant cousin.
Fifth brother, we have. What was the ninja one? The ninja looking guy. I think he was seventh brother.
Eighth brother.
Eighth brother. Thank you.
Is on Malachor.
Yeah. So there's a bunch. There's a crap ton. So I would not be surprised because they've said there's Oh,
okay, Andy. Thank you. I was just taking a shot at the dark that maybe it's just in order of naming.
Yeah, I have a feeling they're just dispatched everywhere, and these ones just happen to be around. And at the very end, I would not be surprised if Sarah Michelle Gellar just comes in at the very end.
If she shows up, I'm gonna be so juiced because she's arguably my favorite Inquisitor. Like
she's awesome. She's absolutely awesome, and she's not extremely hard. I feel like to pull off. I love her helmet. I love her helmet so much.
I'll
put it this way: if you can pull off fifth brother in live action, you can easily pull off her in live action.
And the reason why I love her so much because Ahsoka absolutely wrecks her.
They get into it. They go hard.
I'm becoming a fan of fifth brother. I don't know why. Maybe it's Sung
Fifth
Kang.
brother.
I think, dude, Sung Kang has done a great job of bringing this character to life.
People were shitting on him just for his look, and then like all of a sudden, once it came out, like no one is saying anything about it. Other than
he's like, he reminds me of like if Raiden was an Inquisitor, like
that's actually very true.
That's a very good comparison.
That's a really good comparison.
Yeah. It's true.
A really good comparison.
Hey, random question for all the
to bring in
normies out
Mortal
there.
Kombat. Jesus,
but it's pretty accurate actually.
Who wins in a battle royale between the Knights of Ren and the Inquisitors?
Inquisitors.
The Knights of Ren led by Kylo versus Grand Inquisitor.
The way that we've seen them on screen, the Inquisitors every time.
Okay.
I will say the comic book version of the Knights of Ren are badass.
They're pretty cool.
We just haven't
seen it on screen.
Maybe we'll get a Disney Plus series. Who knows?
I will say they've made the Knights of Ren pretty legit in the comic books. Like they're not so wonky, thrown to the side like they were in.
They actually have a real purpose, and there's a cool backstory to them in the comics. And
they've been around for a while.
Yeah, we just haven't seen it. I would love to see that as a series. That would be really cool.
Yep.
A Knights of Ren series would actually be really, really cool.
Yeah.
The Inquisitors are just I mean, that's why I've been wanting them for so long, because they're just so interesting. I mean, the story alone, that they were once Jedis that turned and worked for Vader and doing all these nefarious deeds and stuff and whatnot. And it, I
And
think it's
it
working
was a
out.
20-year time period too. It wasn't just like
Yeah.
5 years. It was the entire time between 3 and 4. The entire
Yeah.
time.
It's
Jeez.
something that is just, I'm, as much as like my selfishness of like, I like these guys and they're my thing. I love hearing other people now, like I can have a conversation with people that are enjoying it, and like I could be like, so this is da, 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 da. And they're clearly getting used more, because as we saw, the Ahsoka one is coming to live action, where she literally takes it and bleeds them white. So it's like,
Dude, I'm going to lose
I gotta
my
watch that
mind
episode.
over that scene.
well, no,
Oh
Gio,
my
it's not
God.
out yet. That's from the book, and that they're
Oh.
probably going to put in live
We
action.
can talk about that at a later date, but that scene, I'm gonna lose my mind.
Yeah, I just think they're doing a very good job using the Inquisitors. Are not just so far this wonky, like little, like
they're not the Knights of Ren.
they're not. Well, no, it's not. I was afraid like people would be like, oh, they're just Vader's little like minions, and they're not taken serious. Like, no, they're making them like legit threats. Like they actually are like things that people were like, okay, these guys are actually kind of dope, and like they're not little side characters just to advance the plot. Like they're actually being used.
On the topic of Inquisitors, and I'm not taking credit for this, I saw this online, but did you guys see that when we get into the fortress, the Inquisitors fortress, and they're
the
in
Inquisitorius.
the Inquisitorius, when they're in the main hall, in the background, they have youngling trophies?
Their helmets.
It's their helmets and their lightsabers.
It's fucking dark.
So Gio, if you go back and watch, and it's the wide shot of them at the table when they're all talking, when Reva is walking in the room, and in the background next to the stormtroopers, there's essentially what looks like a case, and it's red, it's lined with red, and it's the youngling helmets and lightsabers from the Jedi Temple.
Damn.
Right? Literally, the Jedi that they've killed, they take their lightsabers
and the
put them on
helmets.
display.
They're helmets. Like,
Jeez. It's like, man, Empire. Well, they said it later on in the episode. Empire abducting Force-sensitive children and killing them, and trophies.
well, and
wow.
and like, yeah, I mean, that's just maybe they're holding on to the sabers, and those they're like in training. We know that they've been taking younglings after this episode. They've been stealing younglings around the galaxy. Anyone who's force sensitive, whether they're killing
that
them
could
or
literally
keeping
be
them.
their childhood lightsabers.
And that's what I'm saying. Like maybe that's Reva's helmet. Like,
yeah,
that could very much be her helmet.
I mean, we know a dark side loves a good trophy.
That's evil as shit.
It's
though.
so evil.
It is so evil.
It is so evil, and I love it. Like, what's more evil than keeping like the prized possession of the Jedi you murdered? Like, their kyber crystal is literally like basically a part of them inside their lightsaber, and you've kept it on display now. It's like, yeah, I murdered that one. Yeah. And the youngling helmets is
so
gruesome.
Brutal. So brutal. All right, this is a great question here from Words789, who pretty much answered his own question. Why bring back Hayden when he is just unrecognizable under the makeup and doesn't even voice Vader? One thing, and you answered it: flashbacks.
Please.
Flashbacks as Clone Wars, Anakin and Obi-Wan are 1000% coming.
I think it's next episode.
And
well, yeah, we got
someone, I don't know who said it, but this is exactly what I thought of. I got to bring it up. I got to find it. I don't know where it went.
I think we're getting it next episode. Your flashbacks are coming next episode.
Let me try to. I might have.
While you're finding it, I'll say, I think who better to know the mannerisms of Anakin than him? He's just under the suit. Like, I mean, I think it's insulting if you bring back someone else to play Darth Vader. If it's not,
here it is.
if it's not Hayden Christensen, especially when he's playing opposite Obi-Wan.
Yeah,
like
there
We
you go.
saw this in Boba Fett. Back to tank flashbacks.
Yeah.
Obi-Wan's going to be sitting trying to be healed with his shoulder, and we're 1000% getting scenes of them in the Clone Wars, and I'm going to lose my mind.
Didn't they they did that a lot in Boba Fett too?
The first
Yeah,
like
that
3
was his
episodes or
thing.
so, like first
Yeah.
3-4 episodes they
That's a
did
good
it. Yeah.
Hey, word 789. That hold on, we got 3 more episodes. Okay, let's.
I'm going to go crazy when it's
Oh,
a Clone Wars flashback and we see them like fighting on like Christophsis or something like and like
So, Jake-
Rex. Oh my god.
Jake, you know what I was thinking about the other day?
Flashback
What-
to yes, Andy, yes.
Would you
Back to Flash.
think? Yeah. What would you think if so we know Ashley Eckstein's like short little thing, right? What if
This was her one chance to play her? Yeah, man.
What if the flashback?
Yeah, man.
What if the flashback is of them?
Dude, don't
and
get me
she-
hyped, Brian. Brian, don't get me hyped.
And she
Don't
is
do
the
it.
young.
Don't do it.
Let's
Don't do it,
okay.
Brian.
Okay.
I'm gonna lose it if she shows up.
'Cause,
as
like,
Ahsoka.
Because come on, like
Snips
if
and
you,
Sky Guy.
if you heard her voice, like
Oh, I would lose it.
Rosario
lose it.
Dawson is doing a fantastic job as Ahsoka. But can you imagine as a fan of Ahsoka, just anyone that was like, all of a sudden you have these like young Obi-Wan and da-da-da-da-da, and then all of a sudden you just see her turn around and it was like, Sky Guy, da-da-da, like, and maybe she's running off with Rex.
Just
and whoever.
imagine a wide shot of Obi-Wan, Anakin, Ahsoka, Rex, and Cody, all 5 of them together.
Cody can Cody can catch a lightsaber to the neck, though. For all I
Well,
care.
right now he can, but not at
I
that point.
know.
Not at that point.
That's what
would
I'm saying. That's
See
what I'm
that?
saying.
Yeah.
Rosario
right
as
there.
the adult one and Ashley as the young one would be
Dude.
mind blowing.
Dude.
It's something they should have did in the sequel trilogy.
my
But if you pull it off here, Star Wars fans are gonna. I'm talking all Star Wars fans for a brief moment are all gonna
Ryan,
be
you
like,
ruined my day, man.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
ruined my
I've
day.
been thinking about that since the first episode dropped, and I wasn't going to say anything, but it was the perfect. We were talking about it, and I've been holding it. But like, she's a tiny little thing. You could easily throw makeup on. Age is not going to be a problem, and just like, it would be incredible. Like, if she doesn't, we would probably never see her again as
No.
in live action.
No.
It would just be this short little thing of them like running or doing something in a battle, and you just hear her voice, the original Ahsoka voice, going like, "All right, Sky Guy," and just like takes off or something.
and that's all she will need right there because that'll be a moment that will be celebrated for generations. I mean,
I know.
man, crazy. Yeah. Man,
I know. I've done.
I hate.
what
I hate
happened
you,
in this
Brian. I
episode
hate you.
again?
Yeah, I know, right? It's just fun, and these are my favorite things about like these new things like this is the fun of just like speculating and stuff.
Speculating,
like this.
exactly. That's all we're doing.
Mhm.
You know, the hypotheticals, the what ifs. You know.
And this is also a really good point going back to Celebration. Oh god, where did this go? I just lost it. Ashley Eckstein did moderate the Attack of the Clones panel, and the 3 of them were on stage together.
I know. She literally said, "Nice to meet you, Sky Guy."
Yeah.
Man, should have.
I'm gonna
It would be-
lose it.
It would be wild. It would be absolutely wild in that flashback to just see like the classic Obi-Wan. If he's in that Obi-Wan armor.
No. I
like-
need the armor. I don't care about
That's
the
what I'm
classic.
saying.
I want the Clone Wars armor. That's
No,
what
that's
I
what I mean. That's what I'm saying. Like like his armor where he has it, and then you have Anakin in that like color thing that you have the jacket of. Ahsoka in her stuff with her 2 blades. Like, it would be freaking sweet.
Ahsoka would have her classic green sabers.
Uh-huh.
Excuse me. Oh my god, Brian. I'm
And then
done
you have
talking about
Rex.
Obi-Wan today. I'm done talking about Obi-Wan today. I'm done.
It would be wild.
This has just become too much. This has become way too much.
I've done this twice with like ideas in the last 2 Mando shows.
Hey, if it doesn't happen, everybody in the chat's coming back on the last episode, and
someone said it. Someone said it on Monday. If it doesn't happen, it's your fault, Brian.
Yeah, I know. I need to go work for a storyboard because I have a couple good ideas here now and then. But I mean, Jake's got like full blown show ideas, but like I've got little like things you could put in, and you know,
I swear to God, if we see this version of her, I'm gonna lose it.
Yeah, and see again, words 7, 8, 9. You know, like if they didn't get Hayden back, then forget it. It's not happening. But
100%, and I think, and that's why I think
come back. They talked him into coming back. So
and this would set up flashbacks for Hayden and Rosario in the Ahsoka show.
There we go.
Set up flashbacks.
You gotta have that.
I'm just saying.
Yeah. And Kyle Beckworth.
I'm done talking for the day.
I'm
just done. I'm done.
I'm done. You better be there, Mace. Come on.
It's
fun. We've got to talk about the conversations between young Leia, and Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan has a brother. I didn't know that.
Oh, I saw a good TikTok breakdown of this thing. That it's far-fetched, but what if? And what do you guys think? So he clearly remembers just a teeny little bit, right? Okay. Leia, we know in later on movies, thinks she remembers Padme for the little teeny little bit. What if when they're born, these Force sensitives have the insight that they, for the however quick it is, that they remember these quick moments, whatever. Okay. So Padme obviously birthed Leia. Leia says later on, she was very beautiful, all that, blah, 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 blah. We know Obi-Wan said, I remember I had whatever his line is with the scarf. Okay. What if, now this is a big if, what if, you know how Leia says that one line of, are you my dad?
Mm-hmm.
In that scene, who is holding Leia when she's born?
Obi-Wan. Yeah.
So what if these Force sensitives at that moment, for whatever brief moment it is, are remembering these things?
But what about Luke, though?
Luke never says anything about it, so
but that's what I'm saying. Wouldn't Luke remember something though?
I don't know. It was just a fun little thing that like I was just like, oh.
No, I mean it's definitely possible. I'm not ruling out the possibility that maybe Obi-Wan towards the end, or even Bail, they introduce her to Padme via like a hologram picture or something.
I would not be surprised. I have a feeling at some point Leia and Obi-Wan are gonna have a conversation where she's just like, your mother was very beautiful. She was like
I think so too.
And it's literally the word for word of what
I think she's shown that she's mature enough at her age to, and she's already been asking questions about her real parents, right? Whether it comes from Bail or her mother on Alderaan or Obi, I think by the end of the series, I do think that Leia will have a little information on Padme. I do.
100%. 100%.
But Gio, to your point about that conversation between the two of them, it just shows, one, how incredible Vivian is. She is so perfect as this character.
She's amazing.
But their chemistry together is phenomenal.
Yeah.
The way Ewan and her, they feed off of each other, it's done so well. And it's yeah.
I read Curtis's thing where he's gonna take him to Maury paternity tested. Yeah, Luke is too simple for that type of thing. But I don't know. It was just something interesting where it's like, because like, how are they remembering these things? Like Obi-Wan, they're taking them like so young, where it's like, how do you remember that you had a brother that had like a scarf or something? and then she's throwing out, "Are you my dad?" And he literally held her while she was being born. Like, it just little fun things to just kind of like, son of a bitch. Jake, Ahsoka, the flashbacks.
No, okay, no. Don't get that back in my head. Okay. Any final thoughts on Obi-Wan Part 3? All I want to mention is I love the fact that we saw a stormtrooper get cut in half.
Dude,
yeah.
You know how many
amazing.
times that's happened to me in the video games? But I laughed so hard when that happened because there's many a red laser beams that I've walked through and lost.
Loved that moment. Like, totally unnecessary to show, but I love that they kept it in there. It was brilliant.
My favorite thing, if I'm being an asshole, was like when Obi-Wan is like struggling to open up the gate and he has to shoot it when he could literally take 3 more steps and just walk around it. That was my favorite.
It's an old man move. It's an old man move for sure.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts, Gio? Any last words before we get out of here?
Huge missed opportunity when Freck enters the episode and Leia's explaining who they are, who they're posing as. She turns to Obi-Wan and says, "Father, aren't you going to say hello?" Obi-Wan should have said hello there, just as a little Easter egg to episode 3 and how Star Wars fans, memes and all that, hello there, and whatnot. Just a little thing. And Reva captures Leia. We'll see what happens then. So
I think she's going to protect her.
I was just going to say, I think
Sorry,
that there's a
Jake.
possibility. No, you're fine. I think there's definitely a possibility that we see a little flip in Reva when she's alone with Leia.
I think she's going to protect her from Vader.
I can see that.
Because I have a feeling this will play into Vader stealing these younglings type situation, like that she was. And she's going to like, I mean, I'm not saying she's going to go back to Obi-Wan and be like, here's your kid. But I think she's going to literally be like keeping her specifically away from Vader. May not do good things.
Well, because it wouldn't make sense. I mean, I don't know 100% how it works, but I feel like if Vader were to ever come in contact with Leia, he would know she's his daughter.
Yeah.
And I think they have to keep them away from each other.
I agree.
Because we know that in Empire, that's when Palps reveals to Vader that Luke is Anakin Skywalker's offspring, and then eventually learning that he has a sister as well. In return, Vader cannot see Leia, otherwise it would not make sense to me at all.
Mm-hmm. I completely agree with you.
Yeah. All right, gentlemen.
Andy Freck can kick rocks. He was he gave me such like Trumpy vibes, like so like the Empire is all great. Like, you guys should check it. Like, I was just like, get out of here. Get this guy. Let him run through the red lasers.
Did you know that Zach Braff voiced him?
No. Once I saw the credits.
Cool.
Yeah, very cool. Gio, go ahead.
Why can't they go back to Alderaan again? Straight back to Alderaan?
They just haven't had a ship that can take them back.
Yeah, well, I don't think Obi-Wan wants to go to Alderaan. It's a meeting point to grab Leia, is what's happening.
It's just discreet. Like if
for security reasons, I think they're meeting elsewhere to essentially hand Leia off. And
the last ship, they said, she says, like, why can't we just go back? She's like, it's a trade route ship. It just takes you.
It just goes.
Yeah. So they didn't have control over that ship, but I think what they were doing, I don't think Obi-Wan wants to be seen, so he's trying to be seen by as less people as possible. And
he's wearing a Jedi robe.
I know, but
we don't, and they don't know that. I mean, no one knows other than Reva that's Bale's kid. Like,
nobody knows it's Leia. Nobody knows it's the Senator's daughter.
Keep this on the DL big time. And
the only other person that knew was the Grand Inquisitor, and he's right now out of the fight. So
he has a hole through his stomach.
Yeah. Word 789 here. One last question before we head out. Bail Organa and Alderaan have been established to be part of the Empire, so the Death Star was friendly fire. Maybe
I mean,
it was.
it's a part of the Imperial Senate.
Yeah,
but
they're a part of the Imperial Senate to essentially just go along with what's happening, but underlying Bail and maybe more on the planet are fighting for the rebellion.
no one's naive to the fact that they're not pro-Empire.
Well, once they find out
Grievous
that
said it too.
once they find out that Leia and eventually her father are working for the rebellion, they blow the planet up. Like that's the consequences. So, so yes, in a way, yes, but also kind of no. All right, well, gentlemen, I think that wraps up today. We've gone quite long today.
Yeah, we could go on a full Star Wars.
We sure can. What a fun episode to talk about. A lot of cool little side stories there too. Gio, watch Clone Wars, read Dark Disciple. I think you'd have a lot of fun with those. To everyone who's been commenting and chatting and everything, we love it. We've said it every single show. It's a blast when you guys comment along with us to keep us going with the questions. Come back each and every week right here this time, this day, Thursdays at 4 Pacific. We'll be reviewing Obi-Wan Kenobi. Everyone does it on Wednesday, so why do it on Wednesday? We're going to do it on Thursday.
And we have more time to sit on the things and figure it out.
And watch TikToks and make sure we know what we're talking about.
So we can make us look smarter.
Yeah, so it makes us look good.
Oh, thank you, Words.
Thank you, Words 79.
Yeah, man. Can't wait to have you back each week, man. Check out our other shows as well. Tuesdays at 7, Apocalypse Now, our main movie show each and every week. And then next week, we have Miss Marvel coming out for Marvel. If you're interested in the MCU, we also do Marvel Rewind, which will be a day to be determined at the moment because of this show. So we'll figure that out once that happens. But yes, for Brian and Gio and myself, this is the Fandalorian Club. Thank you guys so much for watching and joining, hanging out, and talking. We hope you guys have a great rest of your week. We'll catch you guys next time, and may the Force be with you.